the reaction?
What's the reaction?
Yeah.
Look, I think we said all along that the club would follow the SA Health guidelines, and so on that basis, we understand that the decision that has been made overnight. Obviously, it doesn't change the fact that we're disappointed with the potential for us to have to go into state, but we acknowledge that South Australian people's health needs to come first.
So is the club now making plans to relocate?
Well, the first and foremost concern for us now is more about whether we can talk to the government about the training requirements, and obviously the biggest part of last night's news for us really was the fact that we won't be able to do any contact training until June the 8th. So we need to have that conversation with both the AFL and the government. If that remains, then the reality is that we'll have to move into state, yes, if the AFL look to move with their current timeline of what looks like a return to play in mid to late June.
Are you angry about the way this decision's been made? No,
not at all. We've said all along, we've maintained a view that we would go with whatever South Australian health protocols were there. Obviously, as I say, we're disappointed that might mean that we have to move into state, but not angry in any way, shape or form.
Are you shocked, Lou?
No.
Do you think the fact that the Crows couldn't follow the rules might have impacted on this?
Look, I don't think that even the staunchest Crows supporter would believe that it's had a positive impact.
So are you upset about that, perhaps?
At the end of the day, we need to manage what we can, and we'll continue to manage our players who are in quarantine as best we can. And mistakes happen. The decision's been made.
Logistically, what does it look like to completely relocate the club into Melbourne or Victoria for a period of time?
Well, where we'd relocate isn't necessarily a discussion that we've had as much as saying that. I'll wait for that to go past. So the discussion around where we relocate to is still one that we need to have. But right now, obviously, we're working with both the AFL and government in the hope that we can get some of the training requirements organised such that we don't have to move in the short term. But as I say, if those can't be changed, then we'll be forced to move into state.
There's some pretty vocal players not wanting to go into hub environments several weeks ago, I guess. Do you think those attitudes changed following this latest announcement?
Oh, I'm not sure. I think we've maintained all along that whatever happens, we'll give our players a right to choose what their situations are. I think some discussions have been had between the PA and also the AFL with regard to the potential for families to go into a hub type scenario. I'm sure that will be one of the considerations of all of our people, but right now I guess all of that is a hypothetical. We don't really know what that looks like, and we'll work with the AFL in the short term in order to try and find out exactly what it is.
So what case do you have to make to the government or SA Health to allow you to train?
Oh, well, it's not a case that we have to make as much as it is the AFL right now. So the AFL are going to have to obviously go back and have a discussion with the government around what protocols we can put in place, that have worked interstate, because obviously other state governments have made the decision to allow their teams to train in a competitive sense. So we'll work with the AFL and do whatever we need to in order to try and get that lifted in the short term.
You mentioned that a Crows fan wouldn't have thought that the breach in the Brossa would have helped proceedings. Why do you think that it would have had a negative impact?
I didn't say I thought it would have a negative impact. I just said I don't think it would have a positive one. I think whatever happens from here, and it's been mentioned all the way along, confidence in the way that the industry goes about things is vitally important. It's important that we take a leadership role and do the best that we can to comply with whatever regulations are in place, both at a state and federal level.
Would it have eroded trust, perhaps, the incident up in the Brossa?
Oh, look, that's a decision, that discussion you'll have to have with the government. We've maintained all along that we want to comply with the regulations. but as I say, I also understand that mistakes happen.
CD, is there a tipping point for season 2020 where it becomes too compromised for your football club to be all in?
No, not at all. I mean, we're keen to get back and playing, and although this situation is not ideal, it doesn't give us an out in terms of our want to be successful in the season. So we're going to have to work with our players and our group to make the best of the circumstances that we're actually provided with. So that'll be our challenge from here.
Do you foresee the AFL granting, obviously early days for you, having only just found out, but any sort of allowances, like compromises for the SA teams and the WA teams who have a bit of a harder road ahead of them this year?
Yeah, we haven't had that conversation at all yet, Max. I mean, we're at a point now where I think you guys got the information last night as quickly as we did. We've got to sit down with the AFL now and look at exactly what we need to do in order to get season 2020 up and running, which is I think where most people are at right now, is that they want football to return as soon as it possibly can in the safest and healthiest way.
How difficult is it for you at the moment as a club, not just for you sort of not knowing and having things change every single day about what might happen for the rest of your year?
It's a really good point. I mean, things have moved so quickly along the way that it's been tough for anyone to get a really good handle on what's next. So, I'm trying not to deal in hypotheticals as much as I possibly can. We want to be able to push forward with the right information. So it's important that we get it from the horse's mouth, whether it be the AFL or the government now, in order to make whatever plans we need to make from here.
Given what like Groundhog Day at the moment, I mean, we talked about hubs several weeks ago, and then not having hubs, and now relocating, and the announcements seem to just keep getting pushed back as things change. Does it get a little bit like it's Groundhog Day for you?
I think everyone's in a position where we would prefer to know sooner rather than later, but at the same time, we can't go past the fact that it's really important to get our ducks in a row from a health perspective. So, look, I understand the thought that that this is just one delay after another, but I think what the overriding thought needs to be is we need to get it right, and whatever it takes to get it right, first and foremostly, is the thing that we need to focus on.
Given what
Last couple, guys.
Premier, his comments about the fly out and fly back in model, and he was raised a proponent for it, do you feel like you've been kind of thrown out on a bit by him?
No, not at all. I mean, our thought all the way through is we'll wait until decisions are made. I mean, there's been plenty of people who have provided comment on what they think may or may not happen. We're dealing in the actual decisions that we have. So that's our challenge from here.
CD, have you had a test?
I have.
How did it go?
My eyes watered, there's no doubt about it. I think I've been through worse previously, but it wasn't comfortable, Theo, no doubt. It's something that I'm not looking forward to on a 3 daily basis, or whatever it is going to be from here on in.
David Costa said he would like the club to go to Queensland if you have to go to an eastern state. Do you see their vaccination policy being an issue at all?
I think they're things that we've got to work through. Our preference, and we've mentioned this to the AFL, our preference is to be in Queensland if anywhere. So we're going to have to work through whatever that looks like from here.
And many fixture requests, CD, like that, to get a showdown out the way early on, or who you'd like to play?
Yeah, well, that's a challenge from here, Theo, in the sense that if we can't train here, then playing a showdown early makes not a great deal of sense. So if we're able to get our training and competitive training done here, then it would make more sense to play at Adelaide earlier in the year, so that we delay having to travel interstate. But if we have to go interstate as early as next week, then it probably doesn't make a great deal of sense.
So you basically pick a state determined on your fixturing? Is that how it's going to work?
No, well, I think right now all the AFL have asked of us is, okay, if we go down this path, where would you prefer to be? And our situation is we'd prefer to be in Queensland, but again, these decisions will be made over the next few days.
Is that a weather-based preference?
I think that most Queenslanders are looking forward to seeing my rig out up in Queensland.
Maybe not so much for you, but for the team. Is
No,
is
right,
that why
okay.
Queensland's a preference?
Look, from a training perspective, having weather is important. Obviously, we're familiar with some of the conditions up there, so that's probably the real reason, Max. Yep.
So the clarification I around for training here is your immediate priority.
Exactly right. Yeah. So I mean, what the hub situation, although I understand why it's of great interest right now, the greatest challenge out of the information that came out last night is more about our ability to train competitively, as the other clubs are. So we're not asking for an exemption, on what the other clubs are getting. It's more just about what we can get here in South Australia. So.